I welcome Vilas Kadival for this podcast. This is my humble attempt in order to get to know what's the education system is all about. There's a lot of difference between an education of a soul and an education of the mind and the body. There are ways in which people have just educated their body just for the degree, but there is something beyond. Education system is something which has to be demystified. And now, in this podcast, we just try to demystify the present world's fantasies on how the neural network is working. So now, this is one of an holistic approach which I took in order to give myself that understanding of what is an influence of our culture inside all these algorithms today. So I welcome Vilas Kadival sir for this podcast.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Let's get it started.
Yes, let's start. So you can start however you want to start.
Sir, okay, fine now. Now there's a present trend of what neural networks is all about. There are ways
Mhm.
in which neural networks have just been that new disruption. But now, learning, making an human learn and making a neural network learn the same thing. There are two different entities now into the consideration. One is a man built and one is a man himself. So now I just wanted to ask you this one question. What is a living entity to you? You have educated a lot of people now, so I just want your view on this.
Can you just repeat that question?
What is a living entity to you?
What do you what in what context are you asking about living entity? Because living entity is actually
In terms
consciousness.
of getting education, and also in
Okay.
terms of how human has been described in the holy scripts.
No. Okay. There are your. Let's understand this way. Living entity means which has consciousness. So machines don't have consciousness. The beings have consciousness. So when we call it as a living entity, so the word entity itself says that there is something which can be seen, tasted, touched, smelled, and heard. So all the five senses are there. So in a machine language, what we are trying to teach, the five senses are not going to be there. Okay, so in that way, the living entity versus machines are two different things. Okay, now coming to further explanation on living entity and looking at what is human. So English word human, if we were to go into Sanskrit, it becomes manushya. And if we take the meaning of manushya, it means one whose mind has got elevated. If I were to put it in English, okay, yasya manaha urshati sa manushyaha. That means one whose mind has gone above. Okay, so it has become erect. So what's the meaning of erect and bent is that all the animal realms of living entities, animal and birds and all creatures below a human, their backs is turned towards the sun. Okay. Whereas in the case of humans and above, and that above ones we can't see, so at least the humans, our back is straight. So what it generally imply is that they are called a trichak yoni. That means they have equal amount of raga, dvesha, and moha. That is, you can call it as lust and hatred and delusion. So if we take a dog or if we take any animal, so let's take a dog as an example. Its mind works only on an assumption that it's have to protect itself all the time. Okay, and it breathes pretty faster than humans, and it's always in fear, and it has to only try to find food. Okay, now it has raga, which is desires or lustful desires, which will Even with a bone which is doesn't have any meat, it still would love to lick the bone. Okay. And if somebody goes near to pull up that, it will bark or it will feel that somebody is taking it from it. So let's say there is a puddle of water, and if a dog were to see that puddle of water, it doesn't know that it's its own reflection. It thinks there's another dog and it starts barking. So it will either wag the tail as a friendly note, and if that dog doesn't respond, that is its own reflection does not respond to it, then it will bark. Okay. So it is also having ignorance of who and what it is. So that mind does two functions. One, which we can take it up later, uh, is that one, it will perceive something. Okay, so there's a perception. Whereas in animals, there is no perception in the sense of how humans perceive the five senses. So animals perceive in a way wherein it's only about acquiring something in fear of losing that. And there is a feeling of gaining something and losing something. And that is there in humans as well. So we have a perception and we have a feeling. These two cannot be built up into a machine. So when we look at artificial intelligence, we can make the robots or software or something to mimic what humans are doing, but it cannot surpass what humans can do, because there is two things. One is that there is consciousness, and in none of them there has consciousness. That is, it cannot become self-conscious to know that I exist. So if somebody were to pull the plug from the computer doesn't bother about, oh, this is plugged out. And then it doesn't have feeling and perception. So any artificial intelligence or any kind of neural network, what we are doing, wherein we are trying to mimic what happens in the brain and then trying to bring that out on machines to automate. So basic aim is to like an automated car, or we have IPv6 where you can have all the equipments connected through an IP. So you can control the air conditioner, you can control the heater, you can control everything in the home. And we have smart, so it's called smart homes. So basically we can do all of that. We have Siri, we have Echo, then we have Alexa, we have so many things which are bringing in, and we might get many more things. Even we can get into the cameras which can, depending upon the heat of the person, it can stop recording or it can recognize, like in the recent laptops you have the face reading. So it will the generator will generate the images, and then it is verified to see that whether it exactly matches that or not. So basically what we are doing is that there is a discriminative thing which we are building into the computer to say that we are almost coming like humans. The machines will act like humans. So it will be like human, but it is not really human, because of two reasons. One, there is no consciousness, and it can never become conscious of itself. Okay. And two is that it cannot feel nor it can perceive. Because there is no consciousness, it cannot feel and perceive. So the day we are able to get, okay, wherein the consciousness can arise and the perception and feeling can arise, then there is no difference between animal, humans, and computer. They all three are same. And because then you will get mind. Without consciousness, there can't be any mind. There can't be any feeling. There cannot be any thoughts. There cannot be any of the five senses operating. So that is the living entity, if I were to explain in detail.
Yes, sir. You know, You have been teaching a lot of experienced professionals also. You have been training them. You have also you have been a master of it for quite a while now, because I missed two of your webinars in my college. One was on 2019 October, and probably during the pandemic I lost those two opportunities of being with you. But I always had this one question of asking you, what has made an human being today? That means, what's that energy which has made an human being today? People are blessed with talents. I'm not joking about what might be the talent of the other person here or anybody, but I just want to just demystify that one thought process of what has made an human being. You can give your views on it. And also, neural networks making a new human being. There are ways in which robots are trying to mimic a human being. That's what you said. But what is that one thing which has made a human being and human being?
No, for that you need to know the how the being will transition from one realm of existence to another realm of existence. Okay, which is beyond the subject. Mean to say that you need to have an experience to say that okay, there are other beings. So we can look at from animals and humans, because if we were to talk about other beings which is not visible to the naked eye, see, the science would like to have a proof based or a theory based approach. So I come up with a theory and I present that theory, and then I will negate or I will accept to that theory based upon mathematical computation. Okay, this is something of a metaphysics wherein you cannot explain certain scenarios. Like in the case, your question is how has human has become human. That is something to do
Evolved
with.
during the time.
So now we go into evolution. So when you go to evolution, then we come to Darwinian evolution. And if we were to come to Darwinian evolution, then we might say that because from monkeys jump to humans, or we might say that when we look at the chromosomes 23 and 23, then the animals there is 22 and 22, and because of that, that one extra has totally changed. But we can, like the Big Bang theory, we can keep on another Big Bang about the human existence. Okay, because this is something where a human being would like to know how did he become. It's like you have joined an engineering profession, or sorry, engineering course in the college, and you want to know how did it come. So you cannot, because it's only memories. See, when you were in 10th, that was the most important thing in the world. When you were in second PUC, 10th, nobody cares, right? The effort what you put, right? Nobody cares. Even you don't care. Forget about anybody else. So then the second POC. Then you are now in engineering. So after a while, after you get a job, you don't care much about engineering. The books what you stacked there will be replaced by something else, right? So basically, you're asking question about how memory gets formed, right? How would you do it? There's no way. So it's an experiential reality, meaning to say that if we take a snapshot right now of all the people here at this moment, they're just frames. Okay, consciousness moves in the frame, so you get frame by frame by frame by frame information. Actually, that's how it works. And FPS of 1 lakh and above will give you a faster way of seeing things. It looks real, but it is not, right? This body, presently, your body is getting destroyed, new one, destroyed, new one at all period of time. Meaning it is in millisecond. So the human, what we are calling, is on the body. But human, what happens is in the mind. So how do you prove a mind? Because science doesn't have any proof of mind and consciousness. Mind is replaced by brain, and consciousness is in the brain. So it cannot be proven. So this question looks very absurd because there's no answer to that. How did human become human? Because this is something to do with spirituality, nothing to do with science. So if you step out of science, and the people who are going to watch your podcast will be thoroughly confused because that realms of existence they have not seen. So how do you explain something which is not seen? Because it's not seen, it cannot be touched, it cannot be smelled, it cannot be tasted, it cannot be heard. So what do we do? So there wouldn't be any answer to that question. Yes, there is an answer from spiritual, but scientifically that doesn't work. Because if we were to look at the neural network, we can see how neurons pass information. We can see synapse, and we can say that, okay, this is how it is connected. Now I can disconnect this and connect something else. So I can create a network. So I can change the habit pattern of the person by watching the brain. So if I do a CT scan, I can, or an MRI scan of the brain, I can really see the frontal cortex and the cerebellum and all of that, and see how each one is passing information on the sight and sound and taste and touch and smell, and how the dopamine effect happens. And all that can be really seen. But this one cannot be seen. So this wouldn't answer, except for a theoretical explanation. This is how it works. And then you would want more information on how do you find it, for which we have to come into meditation. Now we are going to literally move out of what all you wanted to discuss with me. I'm not
Surely,
saying that
sir, we
I'm
can.
not going to answer to it, but that doesn't have an answer to your questions, what you had put to me.
Yeah,
Okay, so let us park this in the end, or if you want to move into meditation after finishing all of this, then I can tell you how this works.
sure. I will. I will. We can have a slot for it in the same podcast session only, sir. So
Okay, fine.
yeah, fine. My next question would be: there is love, there is war, there are lot and lot of emotions involved in every little aspects that we have done. Like, even to solve a problem, there is a requirement of something called as presence of mind. But now there is some speculation here and there that computers will never get tired. Now, beating a computer as a human being. I just want you to answer this one question on who has complimented the state of peace in every living entity.
No, you are mixing two questions. I had gone through your question.
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, first part of the question, human beings get tired because it is organic. Why they get tired? Because the food what we eat comes hardly for 2 3 hours. It's organic food. Why computers don't get tired? They do. It gets heated up, but you can put on a fan. Okay. And the brilliant thing about computers or machines is that you can wire it up through electricity directly. Okay. There is no concept of mind, and there is no concept of feeling, and there is no concept of perception. So it doesn't know what is it is working with. If it stops, it stops. It is working, it's working. Okay. If you add consciousness, perception, and feeling to computer, it will then decide whether to work or not. Clear? The reason why you can compute many things is because of CPU and all that. The human brain is not made for all of these. Okay. Human brain today is used for automation. That is making oneself as much lazy as possible. Let's say I need to drive a car, but I'm bored about driving a car. I want somebody to drive for me. But paying that human being is not okay. So I'll go for a driverless car, auto car. Okay, wherein I don't have to put on the steering and this and that, and no clutch, no brake, no accelerator. The system itself learns the maps. I can just sit in the air conditioned car of mine and then drive. I'm not driving, the car itself is driving. So it will ask me what is the speed I need to go. Set the speed. It exactly knows through sensors how close are the cars and where it should go and what's the shortcut. So through GPS I can find out the shortest route. Through internet I can find out the distances that can be covered by various algorithms, the shortest route first or the longest route but safe. So I can come up with various algorithms, or I need breaks in between. So I can say, okay, give me a biological break at this point and this place and all of that. Machines don't have to have a biological break because it's not made out of biology. There's no living matter. What's a living matter? The five elements possess something called as life. Whereas in the machine, the five elements remain forever as five elements. So this is made of five elements only. They have plastic, or you have the metal computer, or whatever we have, or the car is metallic, and the body also has the same metal. This body has the same metals of gold and silver and all kind of iron and everything. But due to existence of consciousness, the same five elements represent something else. It becomes organic substance. Whereas the same organic substance, that is the same lead and all of that metals which are there, would be inorganic, or rather, it looks as though it is inorganic because there's no consciousness. So, to answer to your question, why it is this way is because of one simple fact. Human being get tired and worked up, emotions, all of that because of again three things. One is consciousness, feeling, and perception. I can work without emotion. That's the right way to work in any organization. I can study for my exam without emotion, provided I know how to cut it off like a machine. Then it makes sense. But then we are doing for motivation. No machine is working for motivation, or studying for motivation, or studying with an expectation that, okay, if I do this, this is going to happen. So the futuristic thought is not there in a machine. The futuristic thought is always there in humans. So can you work? My question to you is, can you work without futuristic thoughts?
No.
Then you cannot become machine, right? Because you require mind. The presence of mind is in the present moment where you don't have expectation. So a machine, if you were to look at the, I think we are going to come on GAN soon. So if we look at the discriminative, that is in Sanskrit it is called viveka, versus generative, which is creation. Right? Ideas are getting created, thoughts are getting created, emotions are getting created. The discrimination here is to become emotional or not. So on neural network, we have brought these two concepts from the mind of, we're calling that as brain, but it is mind, which is discriminative and generative. So what we are doing is we are fixing the pixel of 28 into 28, okay, and then positioning it in such a way that it keeps on firing. And through writing algorithm, we'll find out whether what is structured here is going to be the same structure here. If it matches through discrimination, we call that picture is meeting perfection. So either it's 1 or 0. or -1. So if it is -1, that means it's failure. So computer is not able to really recognize. So if I stand in front of the computer, the darkness is there and it's not able to see my image, and it says that invalid face recognition. But it's my computer. Why that is happening is because the light is not there. So now we have to make it learn, right? So we'll give different pictures of the same person with dark background and then run this neural network to train the computer, say that in these circumstances also the same person is going to be there. So you allow him. What if I had hairs when I recorded it and suddenly I have become bald, and then when I stand in front of it, how does the computer know that the bald person is the same person of when he had hairs? How do we know? We are doing the same thing, but here mind takes over, not the brain. Whereas in the computer, brain takes over of that. So it is going by the code which has been written. So it will keep on skipping. Ultimately, it shows an error if it cannot find whatever is being asked for. So now we have to do an error correction. We also do an error correction when you are in childhood. So we keep on saying to that child, look, he's your father, this is your mother, this is your brother. So it keeps on correcting itself. Right? The same thing. There's no difference. But the recognition of the computer is code based. The recognition of humans is experience based. So computer has no experience. Okay, even the most intelligent computer, what is provided, or robots, what is provided, it can dance, it can jump, it can do whatever. But it is depends on the code. So I've written the code in Python, then it is based upon that. If a code works, it's doing it. Code doesn't work, it doesn't. So the learning, what we are doing is to show the pictures and songs and whatever it is to make it realize through much of training, which we don't know how long it's going to take. But we keep on giving the information, and this program keeps on running and running and running and taking the averaging it out and then looking at the value, and ultimately it gives a weight, and based upon the weight it will select whether it is matching or not matching. So we have set the parameter, whereas in the case of humans you cannot set any parameter. You will perceive the way you want to perceive, because you have perception that guy doesn't have. That is based upon the code. So today you can make that as a horse, call it as a horse, and tomorrow you can call it as a human. And computer will not say, oh, I'm not a horse. Yesterday you called me horse and today you're calling me human. It doesn't care. Whereas a human will act. If you observe, a person can be a brother. This is standing here, he is a brother for somebody, he is a father for somebody, he is a son of somebody, he is a neighbor for somebody. So he is able to play multiple roles. You show me one computer which can play multiple roles.
Yeah, there is no way that we can have it. Sir, there is only 10 minutes or something, like we have to rejoin, that's it. Because there are a lot of people. So I ask all the other participants to rejoin in when the meeting ends. You can continue, sir.
Yeah, because this Zoom is for 40 minutes. So after that, it is going to end, right?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes.
uh, okay, no worries. So once this goes away, we'll again rejoin. So basically, that's what we need to understand. Everything of automation is possible, but you cannot automate consciousness, feelings, and perception. And that is the reason when we have a different perception, each person can have a different perception, so conflict is bound to be there. So the discriminator and generator, even in GAN, has conflict. That's the whole idea of doing GAN, is to create a conflict so that it will find the right one. But in humans, emotions get involved. And there is something called as myself. I have found it out. Right? So why are you doing this podcast? Because it helps you in the future. Will a machine do a podcast? It will conduct a podcast much better than you. It can have a human voice, it can have a male voice. I don't like male voice. I can select a female voice, and then using the discriminator and generator, I can create an image which doesn't even exist. Right? I can create a female figure of my choice who don't even exist. That means in this whole of world, that lady is neither living nor dead. So I can do that. And then I can name her, like in the case of Siri. So if a girl were to come and she looks pretty, fair. So I call, hey Siri, do me this. Oh, okay, I'll do it. Like, so I can have a Google One or Siri or Alexa or whatever it is. So I can do all of that. That is possible. But can Siri think on its own? It cannot. Can it play multiple roles? No. Can it be a father or mother for somebody? It says that I don't know. I don't recognize this command. So I will give it, okay, please try. Please try to understand. You will become a mother in few days. Says, what is mother? Explain to me. So I need to write a code. This is called mother. And it's going to repeat. Whereas humans are not wired in that way, or animals, or whatever it is. All living entities are not wired in that way. Here, the karma takes over. So we don't have a karmic concept at all in science. So it doesn't, we cannot bring these two together. We have to see it separately. So we have to see engineering of neural networks as that. We cannot bring into the realms itself. Like if you bring, this guy would fail. If you are here, you'll become like machine. That's okay, but you are able to get things done. Let's say I want a robot and that has to pick up all these books. I cannot hold all of these books. So yeah, so today I've got a forklift truck. I have a JCB machine. I have a boring machine which can drill a big hole. All those are done by machines. So any repetitive job, you using PLA or any programming language or PLC or whatever language I can use, I can do that and have machines doing it, except for perceiving something, feeling something, and conscious of that very thing what you're feeling. That's not possible.
My question is, what I am today and what are my skill sets or what my talent is, are they really dependent on what my genetics is all about? That's my question to you.
Okay, your body, what you've got may be genetic. What you are or what you're going to be is nothing to do with genetic. You have a reason to be born here. Okay. And that is known to the consciousness. Why it chose a particular parent to begin with. But the talent or no talent is not dependent on any genetics at all. Genetics plays no role in that, even though it seems like that. Just because the facial recognition matches with my parent does not mean that everything is genetic. The body, especially the physical body, is genetically driven. That means the predisposition is going to be there. Let's say my parents had heart disease, I might have heart disease. My parents died early, so I have a predisposition of dying early. My parents lasted for 100 years, or my forefathers lasted for 100 years, and everybody were for 100 years. There's a possibility that I might also lead 100-year life. If my father was short, there is an all possibility that I might be short. So the genetic is there, but to the physical substance only, to the five elements. But what I am today, or what you are today, is not dependent on genetic. Example, parents might be well educated, but the children might not be. Or children might be well educated, parent need not be. There are so many people who have not never gone to a college or to school, but their children are in US or in other countries and doing very well. Okay, there has been no doctor at all in their family, but somebody becomes a doctor or a surgeon or becomes a, somebody who is into research. So it can be anything. And in some people have this ability of music and arts and other things wherein no parent had any inclination of that sort. So the non-material thing or the mental makeup would have little element of the genetic ability of the parents, but 90 plus percentage is self, what that person has brought it himself. So let's say you are born to the family and you can put on weight. Reason being that either your mother or father or your uncle or somebody would be having an overweight problem, and that comes on you. Okay, if you don't exercise, you're not going to be lean. But there are some people who eat double the size of a person who is fat, but yet they're very lean because the genetics play a role. So what we can understand here is genetics is more of a physical in nature, but physical is a very small piece in the whole of that human being. The attributes and the attitude what the person is going to have is got nothing to do with genetic. That's my answer.
Yeah, I know you complimented it very well because most of the people think that, you know, let it be something as a sport like bodybuilding. There are people who have been dumped. He's a genetic freak. There are ways in which people have been fed up of it, and Phil Heath is one of those bodybuilders who literally told, I am a genetic freak, yes, but I have put the God given gift to the work every single day of my life. That's what work is all about. So you complimented it very well, sir. But my question to you is, like, we are building a neural network for a purpose, but there are people who are skilled in one thing, but they can never be skilled in the other. Just like how a sportsman can be skilled to be a sportman, but never to be an uh, engineer who can also be an influential engineer, just like how he was in the sport. There are exceptions, but yet, what should a one skilled man do in the world in order to get himself that one satisfaction of working in that field, and also other aspects also?
See, this is again a metaphysical question. So instead of moving it around, let me answer to you. So there are three concepts you need to know. So there is being, then there is world, and there is consciousness. So Jivi, Jagat, Ishvara. Okay. Now, the nature of things for a person, whom we call as a person, is a Jivi entity, comes with its own baggage. Okay, it's a mental baggage. It's not a physical baggage. So the dumbness and smartness is something to do with its own baggage. What we call as world is a connectivity to the five sense objects. Okay, so a sound comes in, the reaction to the sound of A would be different than a sound of for B. A sight coming in, a reaction of A is totally different than reaction of B, like that. So each of the five senses. So your question is, I have a talent. There is no concept of talent at all because it is brought by that being as a baggage. So when the world he is interacting, let's say I am into engineering, and somebody talks me about medicine, right? If I do a neural network or if I do an automation, I can feed in the data to the computer to recognize engineering and medicine, just like what Google does. Google has so many servers, they have robots, so they bring in everything together, so it will learn the pattern. So next time when you're asking a question, it comes with the type of typical question you're going to ask. So Amazon is using it, Google is using it, Apple is using it, and also world over, this is used on the server side computing. Now, that has no life, it's hardware based, and you have a UI. The body, what you have, I have is a UI. But the engineering, what has been brought, is from their own fruits of action, right? So, a person, if he is given a right opportunity, might then do one thing or two things, exceptionally many more things. If environment, what he has brought, matches with the environment, what is getting. So it's condition, right? If that condition is not there, then no matter what talent I have, it cannot come out because that world will not allow me to do it. So I, as a GV or an entity, has eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, five senses. Now, whatever I want to express, the thought pattern, which creates an idea. So idea into thoughts, thoughts into action. So whatever action I'm going to bring in is created through the idea, right? Idea happens in the mind, and let's take it as brain. So brain can keep on working. It can bring different neurons and throw it. The you in the you, what whom I call myself, is the one who is picking it in a normal sense. From where I can pick up? I can pick up from the baggage what I have brought. So two people cannot be same, no matter how much you try. Why? Because here, if you go through thermodynamics, you'll come to know there are four laws. So matter cannot be created, not destroyed. Energy cannot be created, not destroyed. And it works on entropy. That means there's a dissipation of energy. Whereas in the machines, there is dissipation of energy from the electricity what you're giving. If electricity were not to be there, no machine will work. The power is gone. But being, it is dependent on consciousness. As soon as consciousness depart, the person is treated as dead. And nobody knows where he went. The body lies the way it is. So the five elements then is like computer. The baggage for that life is over. He is collecting whatever he has done till today plus the previous baggage. He adds it up and goes to another life. And he doesn't know what baggage he has brought. So what are we seeing from outside with these five senses? We want a uniformity, order. But the basic nature of everything is disorder. From heat to cold is what it becomes. So if atoms are together, it's because of heat, not because I liked it to be like that. My liking has got nothing to do with it because it is heat which is keeping it together. So the thermodynamics, if we were to put it, That heat, what is there, is due to consciousness. And it stays there till that ayus, or if we were to take the life, how much time he or she has to be there till that time, and the consciousness will support it. When the heat dissipates, the body also dissipates along with that, and that's the reason we get aged. So we say that you're 25-year-old or 20-year-old, and now you're 40-year-old, now you're 50-year-old or 70-year-old. Why? Because that's where so much of dissipation has happened of heat, and the body has collapsed, which we can see. If you take a 1 year snap of yours, first year birthday, and today, you will not be able to recognize. How you're recognizing is similarly to what we have a 28 into 28 pixel. You keep on correcting the error, trying to ensure that you are the same person who you were at 1 year ago, because everybody says that is you. Then sometimes you feel, am I me like this? Yeah, when you were born, you're like that. Okay, now the correction has happened. So the generator, okay, which really generated that, and the discriminator which stopped it now allows it, because everybody is saying that is you. You'll feel, I don't know, I was like this. Yeah, you were much fatter than this, or you were much leaner than this, or you were much whiter than this. Now what you're doing is, as soon as the attribute is given, the picture of 28 into 28 is changed. So you keep on correcting that picture. So you keep on running the neural network in your brain till the perfect picture is taken. Then you make that as your frame. So that becomes fixed. Like you have wife, son, daughter, friend, and colleague, and student, and whatever, friends, and all of that is part of this. Brain is doing it, we are doing it on computer. So we are giving the same data to the computer, saying that here it is, now you go through this, grind this data mathematically. So I will use either the calculus or I use the logarithmic expression to change the data. And what it does, it computes, and it ultimately says that out of these many parts, 99% I can match based upon the eyes and the nose and the lips and the ears and how it is aligned. So I take the iris. So iris has the same thing. It doesn't change much. So I can minutely observe the iris, and then I can record that iris. So the facial recognition, when it does, it takes iris because it doesn't change. So we require something that doesn't change. And that algorithm we have written there. Same thing we are doing with ourselves. So when we see a person after, like if I see you after 20 years, and then you say, I am Vishwa. Vishwa, who, no, that day, RNS engineering, I took your podcast. Yeah, right. Hey, you look so different. Then you'll say, yeah, I've become slightly fat, or I've become lean, or whatever. I've just grown my mustache and all that, or whatever it is. Now I'm married, I have the children, and blah, blah, blah. In that, what this neurons is doing is to remove those earlier synapses and create new synapses. So now Vishwas Narayan looks like this. The previous one is deleted, the new one is taken, and now it will present that in future, this is Vishwas. And that's really what is happening. Here, one extra thing is the emotion. That is liking and disliking it. So that computer doesn't feel. So the talent or whatever it is, its own baggage. It's got nothing to do with what we are doing with science. So we cannot make two people same. Forget talent, even in their talk, look, even they are twins, it doesn't work. Even if they were born together and they were given education in the same way, one will be one thing, another one will be another thing. That can never happen because that is coming from his own baggage.
Yeah,
Hope I
no.
could answer.
Yes, sir, you could answer it. And actually, it gave us the thought because no two transistors in the world are still the same because everything
Yes,
is fabricated in a different fashion.
yes, you need to do that. And in fact, there is a tolerance. So every product has a tolerance, right? So if you, by your eyes, we cannot see the difference, but actually there is a difference in every product. There will be minute difference. So there is a tolerance. So the error is going to be there, whether it is human or animal and machines. But the machine is not going to worry about the error. Humans are going to worry about the error because we have perception and feeling.
That's
So
true.
we want to surpass. We want to be better. So it's already 2:30. Yeah, good.
Yes, sir. We'll go on with the question. So now I just wanted to ask you this one question of what's the influence of technology that you have in your life today?
Technology is like taking bath. You require. If you smell, you don't take bath. So technology is required to make something faster than what we see. If I were to do this, then we were supposed to be together sitting, and now you have something technology. So you don't have to come here, or I don't have to come to your place or wherever you want to do it. We don't have to take a studio to record it. We can record it accordingly. So technology is, see, every tool is a tool. Every automation is a tool. That's all. It's not life. The madness of human is considering the technologies himself because he has developed it. So if I have developed an integrated circuit chips or CMOS setup because of silicon, I feel I have created it. But silicon was there even before me and will be there after me also. So I might have been given a Nobel Prize. I might have had all the money and all the power and position and been in all the universities of the world. It still doesn't matter because that is inorganic. That doesn't have life. I have life. So just because I found out something, that cannot be me. But we keep technology as ourself. That is, I have created it. That no machine will say, right? After you, after this, whatever computer I'm having right now, after I finish this Zoom telecast, it's not going to say, hey, Vilas, wait, you did not thank me. Actually, I am the person who was able to connect the internet, the Zoom, running the operating system, hardware, and you are just talking. Without this infrastructure, were you able to talk? It doesn't ask me, right? Whereas I am taking credit. So there is no technology taking the credit because I have consciousness. Technology doesn't have consciousness. So we have to take technology as a tool only. Every technology is a tool for making things faster.
Sure, sir.
That's all.
I
That's
think,
all.
yeah, it actually gave a valid answer for this present world's madness on how they're using the technology. Thank you for answering that in that way so that we get that right education of what technology was all about, even during the past and the present day. You know, there are ways in which problem statements have been thrown into a man's world. Let it be he doing his research in the genomics or the proteinomics or else in any field. But an approach of the problem statement differs from every person, that's for sure. Because not that the same engineer is working on the genomics can't give me a solution in one more problem statement because he has worked in that. There is an experience that he has gained. But now I just want to ask you this one question: what should be the thought process in order to solve a problem? Let it be a doctor, let it be an engineer, in order to solve a problem.
He should be detached. Then he can solve any problem. One single answer.
I,
The thought process is, if I call it as mine, then the problem becomes mine. If it becomes my problem, I cannot solve it because it becomes my problem. See, I'm solving the problem for the world, and world representing of five sense objects. So it can't be mine. So the solution here, wherein people get into stress to solve the problem, whether a technological problem or a personal problem, professional problem, whatever problem has happened or keeps on happening, because I take it personally, it is mine, right? So whether it is in science or medicine or engineering or commerce or finance or whatever problems we are trying to solve, as a profession or as a personal, right, is dependent on conditions. Okay, so the problem here is an opportunity, represents an opportunity. When there is an opportunity, there is going to be a threat of failure. Okay, so using the strength, so if you do the SWOT analysis, using the strength, whatever you have, you can have your own strength of the knowledge what has been gained or acquired to suit that. It's always throws an opportunity. Whether I'm going to fix it or not, I don't know. So threats are going to be there because of weakness that I might or might not. As an example, I might not know to the level of Python coding what is required today. If I were to go into AI or GAN or whatever it is, right? I might not. I might not know half the dozen tools what is used, okay, or the hardware chipset which is required to make that happen, or the software bot, that is robot kind of thing, I might not be able to develop. Like in case of Discord or any other software today, we can have bot, and that can trigger the microphone and the video and at a particular time, and it will send me a reminder that I need to be ready for the podcast like this. And it might even ask me, hey Vilas, from the dress what you're wearing, it seems like you're wearing a t-shirt and you should be wearing a formal dress, because the host who is going to come is going to be dressed up in a better way than you, right? So you look more weird. So I say, yeah, you make sense. So I'll wear, right? At least I should have worn a coat and sat. So it looks more kind of professional. So all of this is possible. Okay. So as a profession, if I have knowledge, I don't have to worry about other things. But if I do it with detached sense of mind, I don't care. Because now I can put the way it should be rather than putting it the way to please somebody. But when I do it personally, that is when there is a personality coming in, everything is attached to that personality. So even though by age you are younger to me, your feedback becomes more important to me. Why? Because this video I can share with another 100 people. And I can tell them that, look, even though my current job or profession or whatever is not in artificial intelligence and neural network, you see how I can answer these questions. So they'll say, wow, we never knew that you know all of these. So I will have a boost, right? I'm doing this. What if I don't have that? Just do what you're supposed to do. So you're asking me a question, I'm answering to it. To the knowledge what I have, then there is no problem because there's no stress. There is no overload on the CPU. The CPU is the brain. So there is no overload on the CPU. The moment I bring myself into picture, there is already an overload. So the CPU gets heated up, or the brain gets heated up. So we can find that it is pulling out the energy from the body to sustain whatever I'm answering to you. So it shows up on my face and I have to think it over. What's the thing I need to say to him? Why it is not working? Then I'll say, hey, wait, let me just remove the camera for time being. I need to refer something. I had some slides. I need to go through it. So give me some time. And then you will feel that why is he referring? He can talk whatever he wants. But still, I want to be perfect. Right? I will go through it and then I'll explain to you, which looks artificial. So, for any person, the best way is go by your natural, whatever you know, and develop from there. That's okay. But be truthful to yourself. That means don't get attached. You will be truthful to yourself only when you are not attached to yourself. If I am worried about what this podcast is going to do, then I'm already lost the game. Whether this podcast will go to YouTube and I'll have thousands of clicks, thousands of people watching it or whatever or not, I have added stress after this call, right? And then I might have to ask you, can you refer somebody else in your college or university whom I can talk and I can give more such talks so that people get interested. So because I come into picture, the personality. So that's my, what I can say, my 2 cents on your question.
Yes, sir. Yes. You know, when you answered it, I felt so, because I generally do it because I need to respect their time, and I also need to respect your presence with me because you are educating me in some or the other way. You know, that's where, when we put lot and lot of stress on us, there is going to be adversaries which are going to be happening. Not just because we are not experienced to what uh, other people say, but at the end of the day we ourselves will put in the stress about what might be their opinions. So yeah,
Correct.
it absolutely answered that question. But like, I've been working on GANs for quite a while now. I've been working on neural network architecture since 2018, actually 2017 in the mid of it. So that's where, when I actually read the papers, I felt okay, there is a mimic of what biotechnology was also about in some fields. But now, when we are trying to build something as an AGI system, it's basically trying to mimic a complete human being.
What I was talking about is that humans have ability to name everything because we want symbol. We want symbolization. Right? If I were to call that you are a body part made out of 32 different kind of solid and liquid, or even if you cut your body or somebody's body, we have 300 bones. And we have face and skull and stomach and intestine and so many parts. So we need to give a name to that, right? So when we want to give a name, then the problem comes. If I can give a name individually and also we can name the whole. Basic aim of naming something is to recognize it, right? So that pixel, what we are sending a 784, 2018, 28 through the network is to pick up in the end that which matches correctly. So we have a discriminatory power to discriminate between the wrong and the right. So we have a cop and we have a thief, right? Thief job is to break the cop. So human being has found that uniformity can only exist if named properly. And everybody calls the same name. So if I call you as Vishwas, you yourself start to feel that you are Vishwas. Even though when you were born, you didn't have the name of Vishwas at all, and you never had anything to do with that person called as Vishwas. Until the age of 1, you might not be able to recognize that you are Vishwas. 3 months old baby, you call it a Vishwas, it is only sound which is coming, it looks like this, right? It doesn't know. So that means the cognitive ability is not there at that point in time. So after 1 year, the child will start to respond, and the second year onwards, it will start to say, if you ask that baby or child, what's your name? Pika. So then that father or mother will say, Vishwas. Say Vishwas, Pichwa. So it keeps on correcting itself, right? So there is error. So in GAN, we have error and we're correcting the error. Same thing happening in human being. Because there is naming, there is symbolization. So there is Rupa. The symbols are the Rupa. They are not really out there. There are only 4 elements. But I see it as that person or that being or that computer or that machine, because I call that like a car. Okay, car itself is a nama, but then I will call it etios. What is etios? I don't know, some name. Okay, everybody will call it etios. From whom? From parent Toyota. So Toyota Innova. So Innova is there, and then innovate. From there, Innova has come. So we now make language connotation to symbolize. But there is no symbol for Innova, but there is a symbol for Toyota. So you have seen Toyota car as Etios, and also you have seen the Toyota car as Innova. In my mind, the brain can process both the information simultaneously because there is an error correction which has already happened. Because I can read INNOVA. Because when I was a child, I was introduced to I. Say I. N, N. What is N? N. N for nose. N for nib. So that correction, right? Now the same thing you can put it to the computer and give all these instructions. These instruction sets are read. So the problem with computer and human, computer doesn't take it as real. Tomorrow you can change that to something else. It doesn't care a damn of it. Because there is a super class, there is a subclass. In subclass, if I make it an abstract class, I can put whatever I want. Because I can implement the way I want. But humans are not like that. Once you name something, they want the name to remain. But it doesn't remain. Right? Example, husband. Have you seen a husband in your life? You will never find one. Like student. Can you find a student?
Yes.
Are you a student?
Yes.
How? Show me the student.
I can't.
Apart from, see, can you show me student apart from Vishwas as this body? No. Can you show me RNS College of Engineering?
Yes.
No. Where? You'll show the board. You'll show the building. Show me RNS College of Engineering. You'll never find. No matter how much you try, you'll show me the board. Board is simple. Then you'll show me what? Building. What if the board is removed from the building? And then what happens? Let us say that place is bought over by somebody, some other engineering college. So they will put it as Manipal Institute of Technology. They have bought it. It's acquired. So RNS got sold to Manipal Institute of Technology as a fictitious case. So let's say. So then I know RNS. So I come there. I stand in front. Where is RNS? In bracket, they would have put formerly RNS Engineering Institute. So what is my mind doing now? My brain. It is replacing RNS, putting it as. So in code, what is happening? Abstract class, what it is doing? Implements what? implements Manipal Institute of Technology. Okay, so where do I find this? On the super class. So when I put super and close the braces, then it goes back to the super, for which there is a library. So I just have to include library of RNS Institute and also of Manipal Institute. So everything is there. This Nama Rupa for a computer is very easy. Just go to that library, change it, it gives a result. Whereas humans, sorry, that symbol is treated as real. Rupa is real. So I feel bad. Oh, why did they sell such a nice college to MIT? What will happen to me who's studying in RNS Institute? Is it good? Is it bad? As a faculty who is teaching, is it good? Is it bad? Will I lose my job? Will my job remains? Will somebody be better than me? Or my PhD is still valid or not valid? They will keep me, then my salary will reduce, and blah, blah, blah. All of that things happen because of this Nama and Rupa. Okay, so name and forms is what humans can do through their mind, not through brain, through mind, because there's perception and feeling. So you feel that person as Vishwas because there is a Nama and a particular Rupa. If your Rupa changes, what happens to the Nama? That also changes. Why? Then I will make you fat or lean or dark or fair or something to recalibrate my neural network. And that is all about the Nama and Rupa. So if you were to cut the Nama and Rupa, you are only with consciousness, which is liberation, because there is no longer this Nama and Rupa. As long as Nama Rupa exists, this stress, that question what you had asked me about peace, will never be there. It will be in pieces because we are trying to rearrange the Nama and Rupa the way it should be for me. But it can never happen. How much ever I try, it's not possible. I think
Our YouTube sessions, I have seen that you have always given that emphasis on 37 factors of enlightenment.
that is okay. Yeah, that I had read on your question. See, the 37 factors of enlightenment is itself a separate topic altogether, which cannot be covered in this smallest
Yeah.
time frame that we have. Right? So shall
But
we take
I just want to
Yeah, go
but
ahead.
I just want to ask this one question. Okay, you can take you can skip that, but I just want to ask you this one question where just by understanding all those techniques which were involved in those enlightenment, can a machine behave like a human being tomorrow? Because there are a lot of projects like human brain, blue brain project,
Yes.
and lot, world is trying to go behind building a brain on a burning box. But I want your view
No,
on just by learning those
no,
37
we can do
factors.
all of that. Absolutely fine. But the basic question remains, can we bring in consciousness? This is the first part that can never be answered. Now science is agreeing that consciousness is there. They have got nothing to do with whatever we search, but those scientists are fairly few, right? And we have come to a concept of brain, not the mind. Brain is a hardware, right? So when the body dies, brain is also gone. So if something were stored in the brain is also gone. But in the next life, that person might remember everything what he did in his past life. How? So that doesn't answer. So unless we go metaphysics, this can never take shape, no matter we call it as blue brain, red brain, green brain, this project, that project. It is good. I'm not saying what we are doing is not good. We are replicating whatever humans can do and beyond. Beyond in the sense that we can make them more capable of doing computation much faster than any human being itself. Fair, meaning it can create many things than what humans could create. That is also possible. Clear? But can it think on its own? Yes, we are giving it a language to learn. So we are making it learning. So we call it as machine learning and we call it a deep learning. That is, we go deep and make them learn, make the machines learn through giving certain algorithms in such a way that the pattern is memorized. Fair. To that extent, it is okay. Just like what Alexa is doing today, what Siri is doing today, is to memorize every damn information what a human needs. Correct? Can it surpass human?
Never.
No, never. You will get automation, absolutely fair. Meaning, if the task is repetitive, if the task is going to be like in medical, let's say there is an operation to be done, instead of using a human to cut open, where there might be degree of error, I can make a machine do it, which will precisely do what it is supposed to do. Why? Because it doesn't have perception, doesn't have feeling, doesn't have consciousness, it has code. A perfectly executed code with little bit of errors, so that errors can be corrected. So when you run the logarithmic expressions back and forth, so you have a forward path and a backward path, forward path, backward path, like that. If you were to run through the neural network, you will get the value calibrated, right? So if I'm taking incision and cutting the body, so it can exactly calculate the body through temperature and it can feel that how much of the body temperature is there accordingly, and the size can be calculated, and it cuts it without even making any note to that patient, right? It cuts. Now it can fix it up using the laser. It can fix it up. Great. But can it create ideas? Can it become self-conscious? And can it perceive? No. No matter how much human being try. Yes, they will bring it to the level of human brain. Accepted. So you have a better brain apart from your brain working for you so that I can relax. The whole idea of a human being is what? To be happy and relax. Correct? Does any computer say that I want to relax? Does any computer say that, you know what, I want to be happy? No. And we are doing all of this to make ourselves happy. Please remember this. We are searching all of this to make oneself happy. The technology, the machines, the computers, the laptop, and whatnot, we are coming up with the small devices, the iPad kind of a thing, and so much of innovations, cloud computing, this computing, that computing, ERP, CRM, all of that is to automate the process. Does anyone of the computer feel, not today, in the future also, that it feels that it has to be happy? If that happens, none of the computer will work because they know that they've been taken for a ride. What's the salary are you paying to the computer?
0.
So why will it work? Why are you working? Because you get name and fame, right? Why are you pushing it to the computer? It's like a donkey. Its job is to take the burden. So you're giving the burden. That's all what it is. So it cannot happen.
Thank you so much for this wonderful podcast, sir. I knew that though today is a festival, took your time and just gave me a slot for this podcast. And thank you so much for this wonderful podcast. I think I've never been that satisfied when I was trying to demystify things, when I just read blogs, when I just read the thought process which the others had. Talking to you, I think got me a lot and lot of clarity. Thank you so much, sir.
No
I
worries.
think
Good.
case, but in lack, if you have any questions, you can ask. I will edit it also. Don't worry if it's not valid.
Vilas, I think it was a very good session, and I enjoyed a lot of insight. Uh, Currently, I don't have any questions. I have to go through that. If I have any questions, I'll be in touch with you.
Okay.
Maybe next time you can cover.
Sure, sure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this podcast. And I think probably after editing, I'll get you the thing, the link and everything to you so that you can also publish it as in
Sure.
your channel
I will
also, and in one of the playlists which you have there. Thank you so much for this amazing
do
podcast,
that.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Bye, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye.